Hey everyone. Um, Today with the Open Hearth, in celebration of May the 4th, we are playing Star Wars games all day, all day, every day this weekend. Um, my name is Dunham, our pronouns are he, him. I am running this game. We are playing Mint Rabbit's Protect the Child, where some, concerned citizens of Tatooine take care of this baby Yoda. Um, Against whatever is hunting them. We've already done most of our character generation and such, but I think we have some interesting questions to ask about the world and the child and each of the characters first. Um, so yeah, given that it's just a one shot, I guess let's get our players and to introduce themselves and their characters, and then we can dive into that aspect. So character keeper order, maybe?
Cool.
Mark, I think that puts you first.
Awesome. I'm Mark. Pronouns are he and them. And I am playing Zara Vex, the business beast. Zara Vex is human-like, um, working for the Crimson Dawn, and taking care of the child because my boss wants me to. I'm not 100% clear on their motives, but it's not my job. Whatever the boss likes is good for me. I do have a rival who also wants to profit from the child, and that is Quasit, a pike. And I got the job because I'm just naturally charming, I guess.
Brilliant. Um, Stephen, how about you?
Yeah, so my name's Steven. My pronouns are he, him. I'm playing Sapper, whose pronouns are she, her. Sapper's a Leppy. Leppy are rabbit people. She is a shorter kind of rabbit person, maybe probably at least 4 feet tall, maybe 4 or 5 with ears, but without ears, she's probably only, 3.5, 4 feet. Um, Relatively small. Um, she is the rogue renegade type of character. And she intended to do harm to the child, but had a change of heart um, once she encountered the child itself, and they started developing a relationship between each other. Um, and I have an old pilot associate named Newland that I've worked with in the past. And I'm trying to stay out of the way of Joggle, who's an information broker who has info on a debt that they think I owe, but I don't really.
Oh yeah, I also have connections. I neglected Hecht, who is a grifter who I probably ran jobs with in the past, and Opal, who I'm have a negative association with, who is an innkeeper. Probably did not. They probably saw through my shit, and yeah, they're not a big fan.
You've an open tab if they're in.
Yeah, still.
Still. Um, okay, cool. And actually, is it worth mentioning what extra ability you guys took, just so we have an idea
Sure.
of what we can expect from you?
My basic ability is cut a deal. When I negotiate on behalf of the child, I get increased effect. And the ability I chose was fast talk. I can spend a stress to temporarily halt a group of angry opponents before they attack me.
And my base ability is Child Hunter. I have an uncanny knack for knowing where the child is at any time, or at least I know where to follow their tracks. I always know at least what direction the child is, if not exactly where they are. The additional ability I took was Sneaky. I had the ability to lurk around unseen and can mark a stress to slip past security measures without alerting anyone.
Awesome. Um, so I think it makes most sense to start from um, your characters and then work our way to the child and then to the world. Because I think by the time we get to the world, maybe some of these faction Q&As will make perfect sense. Um, and I think you filled in some of these questions already, but I'll ask them anyway, and you can fill us in. So for Zara or Business Beast,
Yeah.
how do you benefit from taking care of the child?
Um, uh, my boss, who's Kirzan Daru, who's a Savarian, they told me to, and what's good that's good for my health and my career, hopefully. But
And you've already mentioned your rival who also
yeah,
wants to profit from the child. Are they in your faction or
no, they're from the Pike Syndicate.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. So this is a not personal, mostly professional, or is it also personal?
I think it is also personal. I mean, the we are separate crime centers, but I think like we have some beef between
You
us
have
too.
beef. Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent. And how did you convince others, like your boss and maybe even Sapper, that you would be a good caretaker for the child?
yeah, and that's just my natural charm. I saw the opportunity. I talked my way into it.
Yeah, awesome. Uh, Great stuff. So for Sapper, then, I mean, who do you know that wants to cause the child harm?
Um, I know Spez Potra, who is a Rhodian, who wants to sell the child to the Pikes.
Yikes.
Um, yeah, and I mean, this isn't here, but I'm going to ask you anyway. I mean, who hired you to harm the child? Or why were you out to harm the child anyway,
I
originally?
was, what's the right word? I was an independent contractor. Um, I knew that there was money out from the child. So I thought this would be the best way for me to get a little bit of coin and still be able to, well, I didn't really know it was a child at the time. Um, it was sort of a bounty. I thought I could hit it. It would be cheap and easy. And then all of a sudden, I found out it was a child, and I have my own history with children, especially orphans. And this one seems to be alone on their own.
Yeah. Tell us about that betrayal from your past.
Um, so I lost my family, a brother and a sister, when bounty hunters came looking for our father. It's why I'm not a part of the bounty hunter guild, even though I go looking for, money and I might turn someone in. Um, I think that the bounty hunters guild or the bounty hunters directly are more uh untrustworthy.
Okay. And I mean, what did you hunt? Is this a very basic question, but based on what you just said, what is there specific things that you look out for or avoid?
Well, I am hunting for justice is probably a big one. Just with me personally. Um, this might be against the bounty hunters or against lawbreakers. Um, and I'm searching for peace for myself. That might be, deep down, I'm probably looking f to replace the family or find my family. I don't know. I think I've given up on my brother and sister. I don't know where they are.
Okay. I think all that sounds great. Let's go on to Grogu. So some questions and maybe these answers will tell us a little bit about how you two ended up together, looking after them. I mean, how did you come across this child?
I mean, I like the we both sort of came to the location together and came to an agreement type of thing.
Um, I agree. How about if we were actually with a third, with a
Mm,
pilot, and we both, kind of hired this pilot together to get us there. I have an associate who is Newlin, Nulin, who is the pilot who brought us here. Um, but whatever, we decided not to. So you're protecting the child. I
mm.
decided not to kill the child or harm the child as um I was instructed. I think that uh Newland, there might be something at odds there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
You think it could be that, Newland is waiting on their ship, or at the docks waiting
Mm.
for you to show up, having done the job, and doesn't know that you've
Yeah,
had a
because
change of heart, something like
yeah, because
that.
Newland's getting a cut too. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, so we'll uh but it's important to note, right? Newland is your friend, right?
mm.
Yes.
Uh so it'll be an awkward conversation rather than a Mexican standoff, okay, great stuff. Um Now, this next question kind of speaks to the larger issues of Grogu, but I wonder if you have any inkling of how the child became separated from their parents. Uh, is it like we have no idea, or
Well, let's replace, if you don't mind, let's replace the word parents with protectors,
yeah,
Mm.
like
yeah,
the previous group that was watching them.
Yeah, are we like having the same like hover crib kind of thing that they had in the Mandalorian? Do we think?
That sounds good. That
um,
sounds
yeah,
convenient. What
Because
do you
that
think?
implies that someone put them
put
there.
them there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe whoever was protecting them before, like stashed them somewhere and had to for their own safety or something like that. I don't know.
What if we don't know like, who was
Yeah.
originally their parents or their protectors? We only
Yeah.
know the last group that had them. And what if
Mhm.
it's the Pikes were the last group that had them, and they're
Ooh.
trying to get them back?
Yeah, I love it.
And did you two like kill the or drive off the Pikes who were holding Grogu at that time, or were they mysteriously alone?
Those are both good choices.
Um, how about if we stole the Grogu from the
Yes.
Pikes and, you know, they're not dead. They're
Mm.
just, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
they're in pursuit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. And again, this is a very kind of open question, but what is the child's goal? What is the group's goal for the child?
I mean, do we have a goal beyond protect? Um, Probably should. um,
Is
So,
this
as
like
far as the
get
child's goal, would it be to go back to a protector other than, drug gangs and, bounty hunters?
yeah. So yeah, I guess I think the goal is like find someone who is a more suitable uh um keeper.
yeah, and that could be, I mean, like, I don't think we're going to be playing this long, right? But
Yeah.
that in play, if we played for multiple sessions, that could be a realization that you guys are trustworthy enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess to find a trustworthy detector, right, is kind of open enough.
Yeah.
And then I guess the flip side is what do you want for the child?
Mm.
I think, at the surface, Sapper is looking for the child to get what it needs and what it wants, right? And find a safe place for it. I think unconsciously Sapper might be looking at as a surrogate family member. Like,
Oh,
is this a brother or a child that becomes a family member? And I don't think Sapper's realized that yet, not at the start of play, but is acting that way to others.
hmm, yeah.
I guess to find someone you can protect, right? Is that the
Hmm.
okay? Yeah, I like that. Right. Well, let's move on to the world, and we've got a bunch of questions here. And if we want to re rewrite some of these faction designations, so we may just have the Pikes in here as a faction, right?
Right.
We can do that. Um, so what faction likes you a lot? Um, there are um, there are playbooks which have a final say here, but because there's only two, we probably won't have most of these. But Stephen, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Um, I think the locals like us a lot.
Hmm,
I mean, we've been here, we've done right by them. I think it's the locals. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And even though we're, underworld adjacent, we are much better than the uh, less admirable examples.
Yeah. So by locals, right, we like like townsfolk or you know desert people or just a whole gamut, or is there specific elements you want to pick out here?
We said we're on Tatooine, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean somewhere urban, I guess.
yeah,
One of the Moses.
yeah. So yeah, um, I think we've already kind of answered why do they like you, but I think what assets do they provide? Um,
Like we're not like the other crooks, and maybe we provide kind of like a buffer between them and like the more like violent or unsavory um bounty hunters and Crimson Dawn folks and whatnot. We're more reasonable, so we provide them a bit of peace, I guess.
does that sound okay to you, Stephen?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's go on to which faction hates you. Um,
I mean, we can go with the Pikes,
Pikes.
we can go with
Yeah,
the Imperials.
Let's go with the pikes and point them directly,
Yeah,
to one shot. Let's make it very pointy.
yeah, let's do it.
indeed. I guess I'll just type over bounty hunters. Um, uh, and I think, uh, yeah, I guess the following question is the flip side. Why do they hate you, and what makes this faction a threat?
We've encroached upon their territory
Yeah,
and
well,
stolen their
taking their shit.
goods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they just have like resources on and off world. Like if they needed to call in someone from out of town to take care of a problem, they could.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, again, in the interest of uh, keeping that straightforward, does that mean like the faction that wants the child is also the Pikes, or do we think there is something else going on?
I mean, if we want to kind of stick to establish like maybe the Pikes are want to sell them to the Empire because
Yeah.
money.
So what about if the faction that wants the child is the Imperials and they want the child um in order to study it,
Mm-hmm.
just to
Okay.
keep in line with stuff, yeah.
And that also explains why the Pikes didn't just um, maybe uh, kill or capture or send to the bounty hunters like
Mm-hmm.
maybe Sapper was planning on. Okay. I think we've already answered that question by saying that the Imperials want to study them. Um, any allies? What faction is a needed ally? What do you think?
I mean, the locals, I guess.
Should it be a different
I
faction?
guess does it matter if like
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for keeping things very neat, but maybe a little bit of spillage might make things interesting, right?
Well,
mhm.
what if we then say it's the scum and villainy part of the locals, like the underbelly of the locals that we need as an ally so they can help sneak us out,
Love it.
right?
Yeah. Oh, we need that. I was reading the question wrong. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And the
And
cost is
yeah, the cost is
like I mean we owe them favors and or literal just money costs. Like we have to pay them off to get them to do stuff.
okay.
Maybe they require favors up front.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's a hook, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're in pretty good nick here. We have just about everything we want. Anything I think that we think we're missing? Um, I guess the question I would have is like, how soon after you take Grogu from that Pike house, safe house, do we start?
Let's say it's been um like several days to a week.
Mm-hmm.
We've been on the run and we're looking for a way to get off planet, and we're
Yeah.
still supposed to pick to catch up with our pilot.
Mhm.
Right. 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 Yeah. Maybe he had to ditch a little bit because we brought heat on him that
Maybe
was
he thinks we're dead.
yeah. Yeah. We need to reestablish contact.
Yeah.
Okay, so so maybe we'll start with that, making contact with your pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe or kind of um, the system has this danger roll, which is basically the engagement roll, which is how we
Mm-hmm.
kick into action. And I guess I wonder if this is something as simple as you know getting past the inevitable imperial security around the docks in Amos. Um, maybe you need to get in to make contact with Newland, or get in so that you can pay off or
Mm-hmm.
do your favors for the local underworld.
I like that we have to make contact with him like face to face because we don't want to be on comms at all.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. Uh, from from this engagement role, from this danger role, I guess it is. Do you think uh, you want us to lean towards Imperials as your kind of adversaries here, like if you're going through a checkpoint, or is this kind
Mm.
of sneaking through very unofficial channels? Like,
Yeah, that makes
what are you
sense.
more interested in?
I, I think we like starting off with an Imperial checkpoint and then moving into the underworld
Yeah, yeah.
stuff
Okay.
for flavor. Is that good?
So, does that sound good, Stephen? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of questions for this. I'll count on my fingers. To set up the engagement roll, we start with one die and we ask the following questions. Is the group well prepared? So again, this is really, wet your finger and hold it in the air. But if you want to
Mm.
tell me something that shows how well prepared you are, I'm very happy
I'm gonna say
to give
no
that.
because we're kind of in the wind.
agreed.
Okay. And familiar turf is Maz Enta um, your home ground? Do you like know every nook and cranny of this place?
I think so. I think this is
Yeah,
some place that we've been before and met with our pilot
mhm.
Newland before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a regular run.
Yeah, okay. Has anyone enlisted the aid of a contact or friend? Uh,
Ooh.
Now, given that you're off comms and Newland doesn't know, maybe you don't have him, but I wonder, does does Zara have Hecht, the grifter, um, hidden in
I
this?
wonder if Opal is the right person there, even though we're not on good terms.
Oh, so maybe this is one of those favors or
Yeah,
one of these payoffs that you find yourself needing to make. Like you gotta
yeah,
settle your tab
with
and
interest. Yeah.
apologize to whoever it is,
Rusty still
to
hasn't got his arm fixed.
yeah, to get Opal's help on that. Okay, great. So that is up to three dice. Um, uh, so does the child have trust marked with half of the party? No, because you haven't had a chance to do any of that. Okay, so now we get to those negative questions. So we're at three dice at the moment. Uh, yes. Is the group facing a faction more powerful than them? Are you facing off against a personal rival? I guess the Imperials count, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we're down to two. Is the group ill prepared or on the run?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're down to one. Um, we've already answered you're on familiar turf that doesn't apply. The child doesn't have any emotions running rampant. And then so you have one die. So it's completely in the lap of the gods or the dice gods.
So I want to
Uh,
comment. One of my abilities is sneaky.
okay.
I can
Mm.
mark out stress to pass security measures without alerting anyone. And typically in Forged in the Dark in the engagement role, there is a, are there any other circumstances?
Yeah, that
Could
makes
the
sense.
fact
Yes.
that I'm used to that add another die?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay.
Do you have to mark stress to do that?
Um, I can mark stress to slip past security measures. I don't mind marking stress. Um, this would be me taking in one of my contacts or something like that. That'd be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's do that and let's give you two dice.
Okay.
So I think, are you both in the dice room?
Yeah.
Slash. Okay. So yeah, who wants to roll these two dice and let's see what happens.
Why don't you roll, Mark?
I will. That is a nine or a six.
Six.
Six
Okay,
high.
great.
Yep.
So you think quickly on your feet and you have an unseen advantage. You start playing control position. Um, So what preliminary obstacle have you already overcome, and what minor obstacle do you have to take care of? So, um, Sapper, maybe you can detail how your sneakiness has gotten you through the preliminary obstacle.
Yeah, so I think at the entry to Mos Espa, there is like a customs gate as you come in and out. Um, and the Imperials, there's a trooper there standing there, and as the moisture farmers come in or the traders come in, a bunch of Jawas are there. He's checking ID chips, right? And I pull Zara off to the side, and there is a section, Mos Espa has this big wall surrounding it, and it's kind of sunken down. Um, the city is sunken down inside, and I pull you off to the side, and we go around the corner, and there's a section of the wall that um basically opens, and this
Hmm,
is the smuggler's entrance to get
nice.
in, to get past the Imperials.
So we don't need chain codes and all that.
That's right.
Awesome. And Zara, what is the minor obstacle that you do need to take care of?
The minor obstacle is since we're using the smuggler's entrance, um, maybe there's we got like gotta pay the bridge troll. There's a what do you call him? Flying shop owner guy from what are they called?
Tordarian.
Yeah,
Well,
there's a Tordarian looking for uh, a passage fee, I guess.
Hmm. And I think he says, Zara, Opal warned me you would be coming through. They said you got to pay your bar tab to me plus the juice.
Yeah, yeah, and I am on my way to do that. It's just our
Oh, no,
credits.
no, 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 no. Opal said to me, because if you don't pay up, I kick you right out.
Yeah, it's just my everything's in the ship, and I just got to get to the ship, and then I can come right back.
Oh, well, maybe we impound the ship. What's the berth number?
Um, yeah, wow, it slips my mind right now. I know it by sight though. No, you know how I'm not good with numbers, right? Clearly, with the me forgetting about the tab and everything.
Oh, well, what's in the trolley? Maybe I'll take what's in the trolley.
Junk.
Junk. Oh, well, I'd be the judge of that. I made a profit on junk in the past.
well, in this case, it's actually spoiled meat. Um, we're taking it to feed some of the Rontos in
Mhm.
town because they won't care. But if you open that, we're going to stink for days.
Yeah,
So this sounds uh like a role we should be making.
yeah.
Tongue sounds like the appropriate score.
Could make a tongue roll.
Yeah.
And
Um,
I'll assist with the lie that I stepped in with, and
yeah,
that means I spend a stress and you get an additional die.
I think that's right. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. I
Uh,
roll 3 dice then.
so you're rolling two dice for your tongue, one for the help.
Mhm.
You could push yourself, or you could take a devil's bargain.
Uh,
Um,
I think I'm okay with 3 for that for
okay,
now.
yeah,
Cool. Let's see what we got. There's a 6.
okay. These dice are this dice room
Rolling
is on
out.
your side. Um, and I think
I mean, I'm happy to give you half if that's what you want.
and I think he turns away and kind of he has to control his gag reflex. Maybe you've hit really close to home with this um, rancid meat lie. You know, he can't even think about opening it. It's like, oh, well, you pay Opal when you get there, or else I'll come looking for you.
But fair enough. Fair enough.
Get that out of here. Can you imagine the carnage if that got opened? You know,
That's
those
why.
things can jump open, the springs in those things are worth for nothing. So he waves you through, and you can still hear him yelling at you as you turn the corner. You know, make sure you pop into Opal, or else it'll be your hide or mine. He says to himself.
Let's make it yours.
So we're gonna go to Opals, or are we gonna go to the
The ship.
ship impound
Yeah,
first? Okay.
pound first. Yeah. Yeah. Opal's been waiting a long time, so you can wait a little bit more.
So tell me, obviously you had your, do we call it a trolley, a pram? I can't remember what we called
Yeah,
it.
a carriage or
Yeah.
hover thing, whatever.
Um, does Grogu like if it's closed for long, or are they a little bit impatient?
Mm. I'm maybe getting impatient at this point.
So I think you like turn the corner and are making your way towards the docks when you can kind of hear Grogu knocking or starting to try to jimmy it open.
Maybe they're getting hungry.
Mm.
Um, let's see if we can't stop at one of the vendors and pick up something, and then we'll duck into an alleyway to give the kids something to eat.
Sounds fair.
So do you think you're like leaving Grogu in there with the lid shut until you get into a quiet place, or are you gonna risk um, showing them to the world before you're ready?
Sorry, we can't
Yeah.
risk just opening this. We have to be someplace quiet.
Yeah.
But so let's get the food and then go someplace that we think is out of sight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think? So, like buying street food, street meat is not dangerous in itself. It's the eating the street meat that might be dangerous. Um, what do you think you pick up for Grogu?
Um, oh, what would they have on Tatooine?
In the Phantom Menace, they had like a it looked like a f dried frog on a stick. It was
Yeah, that's
stiff,
what I was
but
what were they called? The yeah, dried frog on a stick.
Yeah. And do you think you're like you are a very different species, very different kind of places in the world? Do you think there's like a no, we should get this? Do you like does Sapper think that Grogu might
Hmm.
enjoy some different food?
Sapper absolutely thinks, we need to add some foliage in with this.
Yeah, I don't know what it eats, so we'll get him a spread. See which one he chooses, and that will be his destiny.
Um, so yeah, you find a as quiet as alleys get in a moss, um, and pop the hood on this thing, and Grogu kind of peers out, and maybe starts to clamber out uh, towards whoever is holding the food basket.
So I think I'll have picked up the food.
Mm. Get behind the kid.
And I'm sorry.
I'll keep an eye on the kid while you're doing that.
Okay. And whenever I come back, I've got several different items, and we pop the lid. Grogu comes out, and we start, trying to feed him a little bit.
That one.
Yeah.
So yeah, like what one of the questions when we look at milestones is like the first one is basic communication, and it might be fun if Grogu is talking with you a little bit. Um, what what do you think their first word was, Sapper, in the last few days?
Um, Probably sleep. and for some period of time, Grogu was out.
Mm.
Didn't communicate or anything like that, and we thought this was just going to be a breeze.
Okay, awesome. And how about has Grogu been asking for other things or like telling you no? Toddlers are in that phase of
Love
life,
saying no.
right?
Oh, I think maybe that's what's happening now. Like as we're offering the different foods, like no, not that, no, not
Okay,
that.
yeah. So I think maybe what happens here is you give them the greens and like there's a
Hmm.
strange look on their face and like they lick one or like smell one and it's like yeah no, and I think a handful of Tatooine's spinach analog gets thrown back in your face.
Sepper kind of wipes it off and throws her hands up and leans back to Zara and says, "You
Try the
try."
gorg. Yeah, try the gorg.
And yeah,
Is this
Grogu looks at
tending
this
to the
one.
child?
Hmm?
Is this tending to the child or bonding with the child? Or I guess tending to the child.
um I'm not so these are usually stuff in downtime, right, where
Oh,
you
okay,
spend
got
a
it,
little
got it.
bit more quality time with the child.
Right, right.
But maybe we can do that. Maybe we could, if you think it'll be fun.
Yeah, just like to get their overall reaction. It feels like there's
Yeah. So when you tend to the child to clear an emotion, maybe we'll say the child is hungry, right? That's well established. Describe what you do
Oh,
to care for them and roll the chosen stat. So how do you think is Zara just like talking to them?
um
Um,
I think yeah, trying to just like convince them to try at least one of these things to like not spit it out.
okay.
Um
So not like an emotional caring thing, but like you have to eat this or you'll be hungry and cranky
yeah,
version
I guess
of
the wheeling and dealing.
negotiating. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounded like it might be more hard, but I think you're right. It's and I'll take tongue for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if this is what Grogu will react well to, but
Yeah, we'll find out.
you find out.
Cool. I'll just roll a two dice straight up.
Yeah.
Maybe there we go. There's a three.
Okay. Well, the dice have spoken. Um, your attempts spark a meltdown. You take 1d6 worth of stress.
Awesome.
The child clears their emotion. I guess they are eating those frogs on those gorg, sorry. But there will be a meltdown.
One stress.
So yeah, I think Grogu like grabs the I don't know, two or three gorg that you have on sticks and starts like scuffing them down, and the the hover carriage just starts to lift up in the air. Um, and it's going up fast, and it's also starting to kind of spin. Um, and you can just hear the gnashing of teeth and the slurping and the noisy open mouth eating uh, from inside.
Are they supposed to do that? I
oh, who knows? Can we say that um Grogu finishes all of the frog meat on a stick and wants more,
mm.
right? That's the tantrum is they're wanting more.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I sorry, I was having their telekinesis go out of control and having the carriage lift up in the air,
Mm,
possibly to spoil your stealth. But yeah, we can
Oh,
uh, we can deal with a more tantrum if you prefer that.
yeah, I
well,
mean,
or
line of
or
both.
that could, yeah, that could be it exactly. The pram slinks out of the alley where we're hiding, looking for more.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. Let's do that. So yeah, you're there, and it just like zooms off under its own power, or under Grogu's power, uh, around to the stand where you got those Gorg. How does Sapper react?
Oh, Sapper is in shock and kind of frozen as it takes off because it's like you shouldn't go out of hiding, and do I expose myself and I hesitate and then I'll go after the pram, after it's well out. Mhm.
Mm. And Sapper is fast, right?
Mhm.
I imagine, right? But I think if you want to catch up with it before anyone gets a look in properly, that's definitely a role
Yeah,
to intercept it and hold on. Yeah.
let's leave that to the dice. Um, would that be muscle?
Yeah, muscle makes the most sense to me. You're
Yeah.
you're chasing it down.
Okay. So, I have one dice in muscle.
Or
Hmm.
claw is also like dexterity, reaction.
Oh,
Either one might work.
yeah,
But
yeah.
whichever one's best for
Yeah.
you, I guess.
But I'd like to hear a devil's bargain.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah.
devil's bargains. Yeah.
Um, so I think maybe what's going to happen here is maybe, when Sapper runs quickly, um, they make a noise, or maybe it's just like the sound of her big paws on the ground that are recognizable to people who know her.
Ah.
And maybe Joggle, your rival information broker, is like at a noodle stand across the road and will perk up um, when they hear that. What do you
Mhm.
think?
Yeah, yeah, that sounds great. And I'm gonna roll that. So that's two dice. I got a five.
So yeah, I think what happens is that like someone, it's not an unadulterated success with a five, right? Maybe a couple of people look up and see something strange in this pram, but maybe don't take any notice of it right now. Grogu doesn't get to the stand, so doesn't get any more Gorg. No one locks eyes with them. So yeah, you race out and grab the pram and haul it back. Although there is some resistance. What do you like? How does Sapper act? You're in I don't know, like embarrassed parent mode, or is this, oh, this is so dangerous? What do you think we see Sapper do, dragging the pram back in?
So I think Sapper quickly runs after the pram and catches up with it about the time it's entering into like the Agora marketplace
Mhm.
and grabs a hold of the bottom because I think it's floating up high enough. Um, she grabs a hold of the bottom and hits a button and it closes the pram. All that people have really seen so far is maybe a hand reaching out or something like that, but they can't really tell. And the pram closes, and she starts to drag the pram back into the alley where we came from. Um, and the look on on her face is very much exasperated, impatient. You know, parents all over the galaxy would recognize this picture, right? This face. But I think that's whenever the camera zooms in on the table across the way where Joggle is. And Joggle, perks up and takes a look and sees and kind of, gets on the comm.
Okay. So is that Joggle's modus operandi? Are they like very cautious. They wouldn't like come over to you and try to squeeze you. They'll just say, "Oh, there's something interesting here. Let's find out exactly what it is before we make our move."
So as an information broker, I think Jocko would look to see who would pay the most for it.
Uh,
And um, he knows that I owe a debt, but obviously I'm in the middle of some kind of business.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think the first person to reach out to would be the card debt that, they're trying to cash in on. But maybe there's something else that might be beneficial.
Okay. Uh, let's uh, let's start a clock. uh, well, a joggle selling info. Let's start it on a one. Of four, and I guess this will be when it fills. He'll have found a buyer and found enough information for a juicy payday. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. So yeah, when Sapper drags the buggy back in with Grogu, what's Zara's demeanor? Does she say something? Is she paranoid?
Yeah,
What's
I'm just
going
like,
on?
did anyone see it? Like, did you? I think worried that heat's coming down on us now, and we gotta move but fast. Like we can't dawdle around.
Don't worry. We should move, but, I caught up to it, brought it back before it was ever able to get any of the food.
That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about look, let's go. Yeah, let's get to what's his name? Newland. Let Newland know that we're still alive and get out of this place.
Yeah, so Grogu is no longer, hungry as an emotion, but still probably wants more, and
Mhm.
knocks very politely from the inside. Let's say more, more Gorg, Gorg.
Be good, and you can have as much Gorg as you want.
I'm good.
You continue being good.
I'm still good.
And we will get you Gorg.
Gorg.
Yeah. So next stop, the shipyard, I
Ah,
guess.
so let's paint a picture here. Is this a big hub of these docking bays all the way around the circle like we've seen before, or is this more
Mhm.
like a strip mall parking lot kind of place? What's the vibe here, Zara?
Um, I mean, I feel like we kind of want to be well. We didn't know what we were getting into when we came here, so there was no reason to like be super low profile. So I imagine just like the regular, like the big round shipping hub.
Yeah, but I'm going to suggest this place is cheap. So what
Yeah.
we have is someone who owns the hub and they
Mhm.
sublet it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically ships will come in and land, offload wherever they want, immediately leave. So Newland would be here at the designated time, but there's good but we would need to call and kind of wait in line for him to land.
Right. Right. Right.
And there's going to be a lot of people coming in and out of this area
Yeah. Like
as
it.
they get on and off of the ship.
Yeah.
And it's just cheaper that way because that way, you know, you don't have to pay for a full landing pad. You can just pay
Mhm.
for a time slice of one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think you get into the docking bay that Newland always uses, right? But and maybe you can see past the Sentinel here. Hey, there's Newland's ship, or at least something that looks like it from this angle. But there's Farg rather is here, like making sure that everyone has tickets or should be here. Um, and uh, Supper, what's Farg's deal? Like, are they human? Uh, what type of alien are they? What's their disposition?
Um, they are a large human. I'm sorry, they're a large species. I imagine it's the thing that we saw in A Force Awakens that was handing out the portions you get one quarter portion kind of thing. It's something like that guy. Um, and he's very gruff and businesslike. So as they come in, um, and customers come in or people file in to talk to him, he immediately, go do this thing. And if they don't immediately hop to, he's like pushes them along.
Mhm.
Okay. I know you. I know you. He looks at both of you one by one.
I hope so.
You're here for Newland, yeah.
You got our number.
Mm.
What's the what's the weight on this one? We're not in a big hurry or anything, but we don't want to waste your time.
Oh, everyone wastes my time.
I
Farg has time for
know.
everyone.
I know, right?
I know. But Newland don't have time. Uh, bosses have put a lock on the ship because you
Mm.
owe them, and you owe them more than just time.
Huh.
And Sapper kind of turns around and, backhands, play slaps Zara and like, you get us in trouble all the time.
So what's the damage?
Well, I mean, it's not for me to say. You need to talk to people. But I'll tell you. Someone needs to be robbed.
Go on.
Is it really my place? No, no. Okay. So, uh, the Imperials have a probe droid here. And, well, people who matter want one.
So get a probe droid, get our ship, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, yeah, it's simple. You go to Iskal, uh, he'll sort you out. He'll refuel the ship. You know the way
Sapper, what do you
Newland is,
think?
always getting by on fumes.
Mm.
As long as we can do it quick, I think it's fine.
That's up to you.
Well, let's make it quick.
So yeah, I think Iskal is, a gangster, one of your local friendly scum or villainy. Um, I guess you must have heard of him, right? It can't be a
Yeah.
surprise in this town that Iskal is willing to help you for some extremely illicit activity or contraband.
Hmm.
Um, so I guess the question, like, so Farg lets you through, right? Because you know what the cost is now, and Newland's not taken off without anyone say so. Where do you find Newland? Um, you know, sitting in the cockpit, like having half or whatever under the shade. What's their deal?
I think they're actually arguing with like one of the maintenance people who's fueling the ship, like, I got more fuel than that. You owe me more, and that kind of stuff.
Um, and Mark, is Newland human or some other kind of alien?
That'd be fun. Oh, we don't have a. Let's make him. Let's make him Rhodian. Why not?
Okay. Um, yeah, and I guess we see them in kind of pilot-esque costumes, so it doesn't look comical. Like this is
Mhm.
just his usual garb. Um, and I think his whatever antenna things like flicker when you are woken up. Um, and like, what took you so long? It's been days. If you'd been on time, we would have been out of here before Iskal could pull this shit.
Well, things didn't go quite as expected. We'll fill you in, but first we've got a job to do. Shouldn't take but just a second, and that'll get us out of here.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And when are we getting the bounty? I have some payments to make
Soon.
soon. What's with the box?
That's the bounty.
We'll know more shortly. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so you have enough. You're ready to go now. Is that right? As soon as we get, the ship unimpounded, you'll be ready
Yeah,
to go.
yeah. Are you
Yeah,
going to do this thing for Iskal?
yeah.
Don't have a
Are,
choice.
are you going to help?
I can't leave this ship alone.
Okay, yeah. So then I think we're going to be doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if I trusted any of these people with my back turned, I'd be more than willing to help. But
No, I know.
in a different city maybe, but not Mosanta. And he looks at the technician who like act, looks hurt at Newland's uh, not too veiled insult. So how long are you going to be?
Once
We'll
we
be
get,
we'll be back later tonight.
yeah,
And then we're getting out,
then we're getting out.
collect this bounty, pay off debts. It'll be a new future.
Yep. A brand new future. Everything's going to be different for us from now on.
Right.
Um, I need to get a few things off the ship to help with Isgall. So let me gather a couple of things so we can get this going.
Right. We needed the, yep.
Yeah. So yeah, let's we'll take a break soon, but like let's um build a little bit about the ship and your gear. Um, like what impression of the ship do we get? Whatever it's on, like on the outside. What
Mm.
is it when you clamber through and find your gear in your quarters or whatever?
So I think
Uh,
inside it's very cramped, very tight, and we see panels that are open with wires sticking out. It's very, kind of barely put together. Um, and I think I just kind of grab a sack and start stuffing things from this locker and that cabinet and everything into the sack.
We're doing
And
the
for
job of
Zara,
taking the ship, right? We're not just running, right?
Yeah, you don't see me getting, you know, uh I'm not getting anything like supplies or
Yeah.
cash. I'm getting components and yeah.
Good, good. I just wanted to make sure that because you're my only ride off of this planet. So the
do
last
we
thing I
see
need is to owe
anything
someone else.
particularly that Sapper like puts into their satchel or holster or whatever? Like
Um,
what custom bits of gear do we see?
so I'm actually expecting. I'm kind of thinking leading towards an engagement role, right? This is what we're going to go to steal this probe droid, and so it's radar type equipment or something like that. I specifically one of the items that I have in my gear and flavor is a flashbang loud and bright.
Mm.
So I think, yeah, I don't want to plan before we plan, but I think it's something to get a hold of the uh Imperial probe droid and disable it. Um, Zara, you're a talker, right?
Yes, I'm a talker. All I need is
I
right
pull,
here.
yep, I pull out a blaster and I hand it to you and say, you'll be doing this. You'll be
Go.
shooting it once we get down. Yeah,
Blasters talk too.
yeah. And so that's what you see is you see a bunch of components, probably that flashbang, um, looks like a droid popper or a droid zapper or something. And a couple of other little things, maybe a comm unit to keep us in contact with each other.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And for Zara, like, is this the first time you've been on this ship, right? That's the impression I get.
Um, I feel because the ship brought us here, right?
Oh yeah, sorry. So Newland flew you here
Yeah,
together. But I guess whatever space that Zara has is very temporary.
yeah. I'm
Um,
just a passenger.
yeah. What does that space look like?
I think it's just like a poorly padded seat with a with a strap, like maybe some like stuff whatever bag I had under my seat and hang on.
Um, and so when Zara puts away that blaster, maybe a little bit distastefully, although
Mhm.
uh, blasters also talk is very
Yeah,
Star Wars.
yeah, I've
Um,
handled one before.
yeah. What else about her gear do we see or find notable?
Um, oh, maybe I have like a charm bracelet. Um, and it's unclear if it's purely like sentimental stuff or if there are some things on there that might be useful.
Very nice. Um, yeah, let's take a break.
Cool.
Um, okay, so as you're aboard the ship, let's treat this as a rest stop. We've kind of seen a little bit of that where you tended to the child earlier with the Gorg
Mhm.
and the space spinach. Um, but there's a chance for you to bond with the child and to bond with each other. Um, I think each of you can pick one of those actions. So I guess we can go into the mechanics when you choose, but I guess one of each would make the most sense if we want to see what's going on.
And that's the
Um,
green actions in the middle there.
yes, yeah. Um, sorry, so you can bond with the child. You can actually tend to the child because they have no emotions marked. And then there's
Mm.
also another action which is about the relationship between yourselves. which is bonding with each other. Let me paste that text into the chat so you can see what that's about. Formatting hates Zoom chat. That's what I know. There you go. Um, so what do you think?
How we doing on stress? When do you?
Yeah, you just have one stress.
Yeah.
Um,
I have two. So I think,
Yeah. Go for it.
no, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, bonding with each other sounds like a good time. Um, did you have a thing you wanted to jump in on, or
No, you go ahead.
um, yeah, I think like I don't have much to prepare while you're getting your stuff together, so I'm kind of like just kind of like loitering nearby things. So yeah, it's gonna be hard to go back to just doing jobs for whoever now until we take care of this. I mean, how are you gonna? What are you planning on doing for money in the meantime?
I haven't thought far enough ahead about, and as I'm putting things in, I think I hand you a couple of things, and a lot of this stuff looks like junk, like old trash droid parts and stuff like that. And I'm like, I haven't, I haven't thought about what I'm going to eat tomorrow, let alone how I'm going to make money next week or next month.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just want to get off of this place and, you know, get away from the hikes, and then I can worry about the rest of it. Do you have a job in mind? I mean,
No, I mean this kind of throws all my plans you know, um, in the garbage. So I was wondering how what you're thinking about this. I mean, we
so
can't just leave the
you said
kid.
something about this mysterious employer you have that wants you to protect the kid. Have you told
Yeah.
me who that is?
Yeah, I don't think it's a secret.
Okay.
Yeah, it's what was it? Yeah, Kirsten Darwu. Um, yeah, protect the kid until further notice. Um, I I mean, no one cares, and it's not for any great reason, right? Um,
You trust him? I mean, you must. I mean, we're trusting him with our life.
I mean, I trust him to be who he is. Um, if you mean, is he acting in our best interests? I trust that he is not. He's always working in his own interest, and it generally it aligns most of the time. But you don't get to be where he is by treating people like people.
Hmm. That'll be a good thing to keep in mind while we're trying to finish the last of this.
Yeah, and I mean not planning on what what is your intentions toward the child, I guess.
I just I know the Pikes weren't doing the kid right, and I just want to make sure that the kid gets to a good place, better place than either of us have ever been,
Yeah.
right? So that's just that's my point, and I don't know how to get there yet, but I think that's where I'm looking for the kid.
Hmm.
And I think I stop and I'm like, I've handed you a piece and you've grabbed a hold of it, but I haven't let it go yet. And I
Hmm.
kind of look you deep in the eyes and I'm like, do you, are you trying to ask if I'm going to abandon you?
I'm asking if you're going to double cross me or just cross me, I guess.
I guess that depends. What's your intention here? I mean, if you're only out for Curzon Darwu, then and they cross me, it sounds like you might be the first one to go, right?
I mean, as long as Kurzu, as long as the kid doesn't get hurt, I don't know anything beyond keep it safe.
Then we're on the same page there.
And I think if Kurzu changes his mind about that, I may be looking into other avenues of independent employment.
Let me tell you, independent employment has its perks. I mean, it's not all great, but there are benefits. So
It
we can talk.
does, but once you join the Crimson Dawn, going independent becomes a interesting prospect.
Okay.
So we're on the same page.
Yeah, I think we are. And I think that means that you can trust me and I can trust you, right?
I think that's what that means. I'm happy with that.
Yeah,
Yep.
so mechanically, if I'm reading the room right, it looks like you're both being honest with each other, unless that is not what was going on.
Yeah, I think
So
so.
you can both clear two stress. We won't bother about marking XP. Um, the other thing that you can do is you can, so we didn't do this at the start because I forgot. You were supposed to write your impressions of the other characters.
Mm.
So now you can revise or adjust those impressions based on the conversation you've just had.
So I had
There's,
written down after your introduction, Mark, I'd written down
Mhm.
that Zara's a used speeder saleswoman and her word is not to be trusted. Um, so I will revise that.
What do you think
To
Zara's impression of Sapper was at the
Yeah, I think my,
start?
my impression was like you were just a mercenary. Like you're just doing the job, you're getting paid, and it doesn't really matter what the job is. But now it seems like you, you are still interested in making a profit, but not at the expense of your uh, humanity, or whatever version of that is for you.
or morals, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah,
And
that's
I
good.
changed mine to say she can be trusted with the kid. Zara can be trusted with the kid and can be trusted with me for now.
mm-hmm.
Um, so I think as you were having that conversation, maybe wherever the camera was, picked Grogu just clambering out of the carriage and maybe going into one of the piles of junk that abound aboard Newland's ship. And maybe you find him like with some kind of droid actuator on his head, like a helmet or something like that. Um, and kind of looks over at you both as you have this understanding and kind of like nods as if he's understood exactly what you're talking about, which is impossible, obviously.
Obviously.
And I'm gonna pick him up and put him back in the pram, but take the headpiece he had and set it in there with him. Um, and um, so you understood some of that, did you? I mean, and I'm talking to Grogu directly. So you think that you know that we're looking out for you and trying to get you to a better place. Do you know where that better place might be?
More Gorg, more Gorg. We go back for more Gorg.
Yeah. Um,
Mhm.
there's tastier things than Gorg out there though.
There are.
Gorg.
Um, do you know where you belong? Do you know where your people are? Your protectors, your parents, your people?
Uh, no.
Well, for now, I think we're your people, and you'll have to help us, but we'll look for someone who knows your people so we can get you there.
You're Gorg?
Yes. And
Hmm.
but I think you're going to need to do what we say because we're looking out for you and trying to get you more Gorg, but maybe it won't be right away. Maybe it'll be Gorg tomorrow. So do what we say today.
Deal.
Yeah. So this sounds like a good opportunity to uh, either bond with the child if you want to find out some information or hint at the child to get some extra trust. What do you think you're more
Let's
interested in?
It sounds more like a bond with the child to get information.
Mm.
I didn't see that's how exactly how that worked. How does trust work?
So
Because trust is a mechanical thing, right?
yeah, trust is a mechanic. The higher the better. If you flip over, which seems unlikely in a single shot, you get to develop more about the child, but you can also spend that to get the child to follow your orders without question, which
Oh wow.
yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
So you
So
you
yeah.
already have two trust with the child, so
Oh.
it's not nothing.
So I think that, what we just discussed was more like trying to bond with the child to get questions, to answer questions.
Yeah, and those can be very broad questions like about their so the move says hopes, interests, dreams, fears, or personality. So like understand what their motivations are, or whether they understand that they might have to wait for till tomorrow for more Gorg, you know. Um, um, so yeah. So on this move, you are just rolling a single d6.
Okay. So let me roll that.
So is that the question you're asking is like, do they know, are they capable of like putting off
Mm.
uh, this uh, dietary reward to stay safe or to
And
stick
can they
with
pass the
you?
marshmallow test?
And they pass the
Yes.
marshmallow test. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think my initial question was, can you help us find your people? And then I think whenever Zara said something about the uh you'll mind us, right? With the we'll get you more Gorg tomorrow. I'm like, oh yeah, that's more important right now. So can you do what we tell you to do? Let me roll that. That is a 5.
So get an answer that meets some of your expectations, but you're also introduced to an element of the child's personality that clashes with your character's perception of them. Um, what makes sense here? Yeah, I think maybe um Grogu like nods when you talk to them and looks very serious, but I think you get an inkling that whatever instinct drove him out of the pram and to like mess around in the junkyard is maybe something that if he sees some Gorg-like material around the place, maybe he just knows that he's going to have to get it himself. You're
Mm,
busy doing important things, and he has to take care of some things, right? So
Yeah.
that won't be like a immediate or automatic effect, but if you're taking some time and there's some Gorg, maybe I should go get it myself. Is kind of where they're at.
Yeah, yeah.
mhm.
Okay. Uh, okay. We happy with that? Will we jump forward to this mission? So let's talk a little bit about um, the circumstances of this mission. I guess there is a Imperial probe droid somewhere. Do we think this is more likely to be out and about doing probe droid stuff, or is this, in a some kind of base of operations, or even in a shuttle craft that the Imperials have here?
Mm.
So I imagine that the probe droid was sent here for a reason. So
Yeah.
it's probably
Doing
patrolling
stuff, yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah. Um, so I guess in terms of like the place you want this job to occur, do you want to get outside your comfort zone, like out into the desert, or
Mhm.
is it in the town, in the Moss itself?
Oh, maybe
Um,
it's like, yeah, doing like recon in the desert. Like
mm,
we're trying to track down someone or something.
I
yeah.
mean, who isn't looking for droids in the desert, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do that. And obviously you can't leave the child, so you're, again, as improbable
Yeah.
and unwise as it seems, you're rolling the pram out into the desert.
I think
Um,
so. I've actually attached like a little hover sled thing to the back of the pram where I put some of this sack of junk, right? Um, and I turn to Zara and I say, "This is, can I talk about a plan? Is this appropriate, Donna?"
oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, uh, Sapper turns to Zara and says, "Here's the deal. I'm going to track the probe droid. I have this little mechanical thing attached. It's a little electronic thing attached to my ear picture, and it lets me hear electronic signals. So I can track down the things that are out there that are sending signals. So I'm going to track it, and then I'll stun it with this here, and I kind of toss the grenade looking thing, the flashbang, up in the air, and you've got to take it.
What could be easier?
Yes. I'll keep the kid with me. Um, and whenever shit goes to hell, we'll figure it out.
All right.
Nice.
Oh, and whenever you take it out, that's what I brought all these spare droid parts for. We're gonna scatter them around so it thinks it got hit and blew up. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe I have like an old Jawa robe or a piece of it or something like that that I'm gonna leave there thinking they salvaged it. Head them in the wrong direction until we can get off planet.
Those poor Jawas. They always get blamed for everything, huh?
Smells really bad. Yeah.
So yeah, let's set up this engagement roll. You start with one die. Is the group well prepared? I mean, I think I think so. That seems
Yeah,
like
kind of.
a good kernel of a plan, you know. Um, is the group on familiar turf? S-
I don't
Sounds
think
like
so. Not if we're out
not-ish.
in the
Yeah,
desert.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not unfamiliar, but we're not. Yeah, that's not
yeah.
our grounds.
Has anyone enlisted the aid of a contact or friend?
Mm, Not really.
Yeah, Newland's kind of not in this. And Hecht, your grifter friend, Zara, no, this
Yeah,
is well beyond the grifting.
yeah,
Okay. Um, so it's two dice. Does the child have trust marked with half the party or more? Not yet. Okay, so it's two dice. Is the group facing a faction more powerful than them? I mean, it's a lone probe droid, so I
yeah.
don't. So it's not the Imperials, right?
Right.
So uh, not ill prepared or on the run. Um, Unfamiliar enemy turf? I don't think so. I mean, it's not familiar, but it's just the desert, right? It's not the deep desert or anything like that. And the child does not have two or more emotions running rampant. So I have two dice, if I'm counting correctly.
Cool.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and roll those?
Why don't you roll them, Mark?
I will. That is a 5.
Okay. So on a 4-5, you're caught slightly off guard, but manage to pull it together. So you start playing a risky position. What obstacle stands in your way of success? Mark, let's have Zara answer this one.
um, I think what we did not expect where there's a couple troopers on speeders accompanying the probe droid.
Um, so yeah, I think this is not usual, or maybe they've just met up with it to
Mm,
do something else, or they've just encountered it. So it's not at all expected or even kind of predictable, right? They just happen to be there. Um, uh, how, Saber, how close have you gotten to this droid before either you see those stormtroopers or maybe you hear them on the comms
mm.
finally when they like have to contact their superiors or another patrol? Like how close are you to like stepping into it?
So I think that the reason it was easier to find the probe droid is because there were these other troopers here
Mm.
broadcasting and sending signals.
Yeah.
And once I got close enough, I realized, oh, these aren't encrypted signals from a droid. This is, voice communication going back and forth.
Mm.
So I would say, you know, we're within sight, like maybe over a dune or something like that. I'm going a little bit slower, and I think I've told Zara, you know, I've been coming slowly and trying to triangulate to get a good point,
Mm.
and top a dune, and I see the pro droid and the two troopers there. I think Zara is probably separate from me, and I'm
Yeah.
directing you kind of where to go.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so I think you hear one of the troopers say to the other, my comms are flaking. There's some kind of interference, and maybe they're not, technical. Like maybe your comms are interfering with theirs, right?
Right. Right.
Um, but you like he hits his comm unit on his helmet, and obviously that'll fix it, right? Um, and yeah, the two of them say, "Oh, let's take a look at this droid. Whatever it's doing wrong, we gotta fix it, or else we'll just be sent out again." Um, So, they jump off their bikes and they're like trudging up to the top of this dune where this droid is just loitering. Um,
Maybe the droid isn't transmitting because like for whatever reason, and they're coming out like not to repair but to retrieve whatever it got.
okay.
Mm.
Like that, it's either unable to or it's too important to send over the air.
So I think I'll let Zara know. I'm like, they seem to be here just to pick up data. Let's wait for a little while and sit it out, unless you want to fight two troopers.
No, I mean we were sent to get the droid, not the data on it. That's not the job.
That's right.
Mhm.
Hopefully,
So what do you think? Is keeping your head down and just waiting this out and making sure you don't get spotted or that some other party comes up, like keeping your head down till are all clear. Does that sound like it's a challenge out here in the desert?
So I'm gonna suggest that it wouldn't be a challenge. The troopers would run off. We would just have to hide from them. But we are under time constraints,
Mhm.
right? We need to get in and out quickly. Um, so at some point, probably fairly shortly, we run out of patience.
yeah,
And I think I tell Zara we're gonna have to see if we can't get them to go back to base.
yeah. And they're taking their time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they just like having some downtime
Hmm.
away from what else they have to do. So yeah, how are you gonna, um, nudge them towards just doing it and leaving? Does that seem like hacking transmissions to be like a,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Do you think that would be a snapper thing? You can break into other comms and give them a reason.
Um, I can patch you in, but I'm not gonna talk to them.
You patch me in, and I can talk to him.
And I'll use that
so
as help, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, so let's Zara uh, roll for her tongue. So it's two
Mhm.
dice plus one for help. Um, do you want to
I'll
push yourself to
devil's
get an
bargain.
extra die or take a devil's bargain? What do you think?
I'll hear a devil's bargain.
Ah, yeah. So I think maybe all of this transmissions has also attracted the Jawa.
Mm-hmm.
Like the the story that you're planning on putting out is a good story for a reason, right? The
Hmm.
Jawas are always out here picking up junk, right? Or stuff that is not quite junk yet.
Yeah,
So I think the Jawas, if you want to take the devil's bargain, are in the hunt as well.
yeah, yeah. I'll take that.
Okay.
Cool. I'll roll.
Another part of the help that I'm providing is I make the audio a little glitchy
Hmm.
so that they can't quite hear you exactly. Like, I'll cut it out if they ask you for a badge number or something like
Right,
that. So
right.
yeah.
Can I take one of those bumps as increased effect instead of a die?
Yeah, so we're not re so
Or it
as
doesn't do that?
we're
It doesn't.
not really playing with position
Okay,
effect
cool, cool.
in this
For
version.
46 it is then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is a 5.
Okay, that's pretty good. So, like, what does this sound like? What's the general gist? And if you want to say, oh, we're cutting out here,
Yeah,
so
I
there's
think the like to really get them out, I'll say troopers garble and garble um uh our outpost in Mos what was it? Outpost in Mos Enta is under attack. Um, it's the Pikes. We need all hands on deck. Uh, get back here, whether you're done or not.
okay, yeah, and they like try to talk back and say again, control.
Sorry, you're breaking up. I can just get in here. We're under fire.
And I think on their personal comms, which you're probably also listening in for, like they need help from two troopers. Like there's a whole company trolling the place for this weirdo alien, right? Um, I guess let's send this Droiden's way, right? So like they pull the data and they like I think the complication here for the five is that right the they make sure that the droid is back on its
Mm,
pattern. It's not just sitting here before they zoom off. Um, and maybe like what we see as the camera kind of zooms up above the dune is that this droid is like going down into some gully, and we see
mm.
the Jawa eyes from the dark crevices down here.
Nice. All right, let's hit it and get it.
So you're both on foot, or like I
Yeah,
guess you're
Yeah.
if you came out here in a speeder, it's like parked well back.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that I'm first in that I'm gonna stun it with the little stun grenade flashbang thing. Um, and I'll give you a countdown, and I'm counting down from like five, five, four, and then we see little Jawa's eyes pop up. I'm like,
Mhm.
one, boom. Oh,
Um, yeah, so I think let's um yeah, I think that's fair. You like get the jump on the droid, but maybe at that same moment you realize that there's multiple parties here to take advantage of this damn droid.
Mhm.
Um, so I guess this is claw, right? That is, seems like ranged weaponry to me.
Mhm.
I think so. Hmm.
Yeah. Um, Remember, you can also get a +1 if you're using gear,
Mm.
um, which seems pertinent, right? Which
Yeah.
you're with your the flashbang, whatever device that is, that's gonna take care of this droid. Um, any help? Are you pushing yourself?
I'm gonna push myself. Yeah, that's a good
Okay,
idea. Um,
so that's 2 stress to push yourself.
okay. So, and I think that gives me three dice,
Yeah.
and I'll roll that. I got a six.
Nice.
Yeah, so what does this look like? You don't short it because obviously you don't want to cause any permanent damage, but you hit whatever it is that shuts this down short term without any lasting effects. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I think what we see is I toss this grenade looking thing over the dune, and it arcs and goes right in front, and we see right in front of that big red eye, we see it kind of come down, and then the
Mhm.
view switches back to outside, on the other side of the dune, and we see this bright light. And the next thing we see from the probe droid is that red light is off, but all the other lights are still active and it's still
Mhm.
floating. That red light is off. Um, and I think we see a couple of the Jawa who were coming over the dune at the probe droid are kind of rubbing their eyes a little bit.
Yeah. That's when I run in.
So yeah, I think you find that droid in kind of its neutral mode, right? As expected. But then you see a couple of Jawas just there, you know, trying to trying to regain their full senses after this flashbang went off. Um, How familiar or wary of the Jawas is Zara? What do you do?
Probably wary, but not super familiar.
Mhm.
Um, if they are still rubbing their eyes, I'm going to try to drag it off before they can lay hands on it.
Yeah. So I guess that sounds like muscle, right? You're
Yeah,
just gra
yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there's a handle, right, for
yeah,
maintenance or for
yeah,
loading. So you just grab that service handle,
yeah.
and I guess the floating whatever
Mhm.
helps with that, right? It's not dead weight.
And I'm going to
Um,
need to push just to get a die there.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, do you have so you have your like four starting gear, which
Oh, yeah.
definitely
Maybe.
aren't relevant, but is there something else that Zara has?
Yeah, I think because we came up with the plan on the ship, I definitely grabbed like a tow cable, like
Okay,
that's
yeah,
wrapped
yeah,
around.
with some nice carabiner clip or
Yeah.
whatever that'll help. Okay, cool. Um, so it's two dice,
Cool.
right?
One, two.
Gear and push.
That's a two.
Um, so yeah, as I think as soon as you clip uh that thing into the handle, um, the head kind of spins around at you and says, "Unauthorized access," right? um, and it's still not moving or whatever, but you hear it say, "Initiating defense."
Hmm.
And I think you'll take a knock. Um,
Can I
a level
resist?
one knock. Yeah, you can.
Okay.
It'll be like stunned or
Yeah.
something like that. You can definitely resist that.
Cool. I will do that then. It's two
Uh, y-
dice.
you could resist. I guess it entering that defense mode, or you could just say you're resisting the stun, which is probably
Mhm.
um,
Um, let's see how well I resist, and then we'll figure out what that looks like.
okay.
A six, perfect, great.
Okay.
Um, I, did the contract say it needed to be undamaged?
Um, I mean, I guess as undamaged as possible is kind
Yeah.
of the
I mean, under the
uh,
circumstances, I would say, here's my authorization, and take the blaster and put it up to the eye and
okay.
pull the trigger.
Um,
It might
yeah.
be harder to drag now, but
Well, I think that is like maybe that central eye is those kind of higher functions,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Or at least the kind of control bolt for those
right, right.
making decisions on the move, or like the normal the normal stuff, the floating and all that are unaffected, I think. Because you rolled a six, right? So
Yeah,
it's not stressful. Like this was your
a
plan
clean
all
shot.
along, right?
Yeah,
You
sure,
definitely knew that was going to happen.
100%.
Yeah. Um, and I think the Jawas are you're like pulling it away, and then you feel a tug.
Mhm.
Maybe as you're heading up towards Sapper, these two Jawas are now on the other side, holding on to bits that aren't meant to be held onto, but
Do I
now
need
they're
to
able to
authorize you
because
guys
the
to?
security is shut down.
Wave the. Do I need to authorize you guys to get out of here?
Uh,
You know what? We got a bag of junk for you if you want it.
And I think I step over. So the plan was, I hear the blaster go off. I jump up and I start tossing the useless droid parts, scattering them around. I think I tossed that Jawa robe,
Mhm.
just so we see this comical kind of we see this confrontation, then we see this comical like junk kind of come flying over. Yeah.
yeah. Um, I think is this maybe um a brain roll? This is you picking stuff that is going to naturally attract the attention of Jawas because you need to sell it to other people that this is Jawa stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I think that this is like maybe we have a like I don't know, a flashback, or
Mhm.
it'll be inserted in the edit of Sapper like picking through stuff that is, shiny for Jawas. Um, so yeah, let's make this a brains rule. I think if you wanted to, you can like put shiny Jawa stuff in your gear, right? To give you a boost.
Yeah. Since I did mention picking that up,
Yeah, yeah.
and then I'll mark it off. And so my brain is one. The gear will give me 2 dice. I'm not going to push myself. I'd like to hear a devil's bargain.
Okay. Um, I mean, do you think there is something else in your gear that you accidentally chuck out?
Ooh, that's good.
Mm.
Um,
Maybe the,
yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say the earpiece with the signals because you've been using that
Yeah.
actively.
Oh yeah.
But
But so another thing that's in my gear is brass knuckles that have been used from the waist down that are attached to the picture in my belt.
Mm.
And
okay,
those could potentially be tracked back to me.
okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's. I mean, that would be much more interesting in a campaign, but I think that's
Yeah.
good enough.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe when we close in the epilogue, you realize they're missing, right?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, let's see the roll and see how well attuned to this
Okay.
they are. So you're rolling 3 dice, I
Yep.
think. Yeah.
My highest is a 3.
Wow. Okay. Um, so I think like another couple of Jawas like spring into action
Oh yeah.
and start picking up all this stuff, and then the other two who are still attached to the droid are still like pulling it. And I think maybe Zara, you might need to, you know,
Pew pew.
um,
Um, can I escalate
gesture.
things?
Oh, yeah,
I want
yeah,
to escalate things just a little bit. What
Yeah.
if, since I started tossing the droids parts and everything, they see me and they come over and like start messing with the pram and punch a button and the pram
Mm.
pops open and all of that. So I'm
yeah,
fending them off from the pram while
yeah.
you're trying to fend them off from the droid.
Okay,
Mm.
nice. I love that.
Yep.
So yeah, like there's a few grabbing all the gear, and like it disappears into the robes or bags, or there's like a chain of them now, like into these caverns, and two guys pop up from behind you, and they're uh, oohing and eyeing at the pram, and you have to slap fingers away from pressing the button that'll open it up, and I think you hear Gorg from inside.
That's right.
And yeah, and I think the there's like now four Jawa on the droid pulling it away from you, and yeah, I think Zara, your threat to authorize them with the blaster, you might have to do more than just say it.
Yep. I guess I'll take a couple shots at the ground at their feet. Like next one's going higher, but not much higher because
Yeah.
you're small.
So is this? I mean, this is intimidation, right? Because you're not
Yeah.
shooting to harm your
Yeah.
your.
So I guess it's still tongue then. Yeah.
I think yeah, it's still tongue. Yeah. So long as it's talking and not walking, right?
Yeah.
So it's 2 dice to start with.
Yeah. And I'll use the
You need the
blaster for another
blaster
die.
for another die.
Mm,
I think Sapper is busy about to
yeah. Go through
defend
dice.
Grogu. You could push.
Oops.
Not sure if I have a devil's bargain in mind.
Yeah.
Uh,
3 dice is fine.
okay,
Boom. That's a 5
okay.
with complication.
So yeah, I think you you put a few blaster rounds down, and a couple of them scamper, and I think um, uh, one of them uh, has like clambered up, and like when the dust has settled, they'll still be attached. They're
Hmm.
like Trojan horsing themselves into whatever situation you have. So you think you've driven them off, but there's still one Jawa here
Fantastic.
who
Right
will
along.
cause trouble, right?
I love it.
Uh, let's go back to the pram. So yeah, like there's a couple of Jawas here who are really interested in what's inside this,
And I,
and
I kind of get rough with them and I kind of push them away. And I reach down to my belt to grab those brass knuckles. And I turn around and we see the cameras zoom in and they're laying in that debris over there where
Mm.
the droid stuff is. And I'm like, oh. And I reach around. I'm like, it throws me for a second. And I grab my blaster and I turn around and aim at one of them. And I'm going to shoot one of them.
but so let's make that a claw check
Yeah.
then.
Claw.
Um,
And I have my blaster is gear.
the blaster.
Um,
Um, I've got a devil's bargain for you.
oh yeah.
I think Grogu will have opened the pram and will see you
Mm.
like shoot this just Jawa,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Let's do
is,
that.
something that he hasn't seen before, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, not from me. Yeah.
Not from you, yeah.
Let me roll that. That's a 5.
Okay, so yeah, I think you drive them away. You shoot one, and I think Grogu looks as this Jawa does not keep moving, right?
Mm.
And there's the kind of the smell. Maybe you have internalized. It's nothing super, but I think when you look back, you see this look of shock, and I'm gonna take away a trust
Ooh.
Yeah.
And
because
I think Grogu actually we hear that cooing sound and reaches out, and where
Mm.
I turn back, that look happens, and I reach over and I close the pram.
yeah, and I don't know if you hear Grogu say something or maybe just like a sniff, like he's sad.
Yeah. That little
Okay. So I think you've driven off the Jawas.
except for the one
They've
hanger on that we don't know about.
except for the one hanger on. They've
Yeah.
escaped with all the droid parts and your brass knuckles. Um, um, yeah, and I guess you lumber it back to your speeder and then back into town. I
Mhm.
don't know what you have on top of it, just a tarp or,
Yeah, probably.
I
vegetables
think so.
buried.
We carried out with the pram like a repulsor sled thing with all the
Right.
junk on it. So I think we put it in the sack and put it back on that sled like we're coming back with the same stuff.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was just envisioning, the one we see on Hoth,
Hmm.
which is quite big, right?
Yeah.
But maybe it's a smaller one,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Okay, so we get you back into town. Um, so we're just coming up to the hour. So I wonder, do we just do like a quick closing, have you guys get away, and then do some kind of epilogue
Yeah,
or
that
some kind
works.
of scene to close out?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, what is it like when you deliver this to Iskal, your gangster who's giving you the all clear?
I like the idea that they were after the data, but they didn't want to say. And so like we did the job technically, so we can get out. But I think they're like, and now you still owe us because
Yeah,
So
and I think they can pitch it like, oh, the droid is damaged,
yeah, yeah,
so they don't have to even say that they were after
yeah.
the data, right? Okay, I like that. Um, Sapper, what's the kind of reception from Newland when you get back and you've gotten the all clear? I mean, you still have to have that conversation about Grogu, right? But how does he react um, when you've come through, when you've gotten clearance?
I think it's relief, and a little bit of disbelief. He's like, I couldn't believe that you guys would get us out by tonight. I'm like, you know, desperate times call for desperate actions, and you know, just get us out of here.
Those get you XP.
And I think we'll have that conversation after we've entered hyperspace.
Yeah,
Oh, wait. Uh, we probably want to go to different coordinates, so we'll have that conversation. Yeah, after we've entered hyperspace for the first leg of the jump.
right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to play that out as a kind of an epilogue just to set up, or what do you want?
That feels
Well, I
like a
think
good
this
like
would.
stinger. Like we need to talk, and then hyperspace.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's have a quick epilogue. This can be like that conversation, or where you end up in hyperspace, or months down the line, whatever you think is most interesting. Uh, Zara, what do we see for you?
um, I think it is. I'm if it's kind of like scenes from future episodes, I think it's having a tense conversation, maybe with guns under the table, with my Pike rival about how things are going to go, and no one's backing down.
Yeah, nice. How about Sapper?
Yeah, I think that we see um is call um angry and like is in a dim lit room back on Tatooine, and he turns to Far and the Toydarian that we saw before letting us in and says, slams a fist on the table and says, "Go get them now." And they, head off, and we see them on like on a ship coming after, in hyperspace. Um, yeah.
Nice.
And I think, like you said, the stinger is we come out of hyperspace, we start to make the coordinates for the next jump, and I walk up and I reach up and I put a hand on Newland's shoulder and say, "We should have a talk."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when he turns around, maybe over your shoulder, he sees Grogu, right? Having
Mm.
popped the lid as well, right? So,
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah,
perfect.
yeah. Okay, nice.
Cool.
So yeah, let's wrap there. Um, I'll stop the recording and maybe we'll do a quick round of stars and wishes. But yeah.
All right.